Right, we're standing outside the old cemetery of Shanakyle, Old Shanakyle, just outside the town of Kilrush. This was the main cemetery for the town and its surrounding districts for many, many generations. And during the famine, the starving and the fever-stricken, those people who died of starvation and of fever, were brought here and they were buried in 3 huge pits. During the Great Famine, no place in Ireland suffered as atrociously as Kilrush in the southwest of County Clare. Here, from the earliest time the potatoes failed in October of 1845, right through to 1854, when the famine had already ended over most of Ireland, the people of Kilrush were still suffering dreadfully. Now, we don't know how many people died because there was no attempt ever made to collect statistics in relation to famine dead. But we had some statistics, and I'll get to those in a minute. Firstly though, what did people die of? They died of starvation, they died of fever, and increasingly, after 1847, they died of exposure to the cold, in addition to these 2 other things. Because from 1847 onwards, landlords in this area were evicting their tenants on a colossal scale. Between 1847 and 1854, we know that 20,000 people were evicted permanently from their homes in this part of Clare, amid circumstances the most incredible brutality, suffering and tragedy. And we know that 99% of these people died because there was no relief open to them. They were left on the side of the road and they just died where they were left. 2 landlords here stand out as the chief culprits in the evictions of the people of West Clare. One was Colonel Croftonmore Vandeleur of Kilrush, who owned 20,000 acres centering on the town and the surrounding area, and a very wealthy man who used the famine situation in order to improve his estate by getting rid of his, what he called his surplus tenantry. The other perpetrator was called Marcus Keane, who lived near Ennis, but he was a land agent and he controlled a very vast proportion of West Clare through the estates that he managed for his clients. And between them and the other landlords that they encouraged, these 2 men were responsible for mass death on a scale that we find absolutely incomprehensible. And here in Old Shanakyle, we are standing in the famine pits, in the grave pits of Shanakyle, where so many people died in such dreadful circumstances. How many people lie here, we don't know. Somewhere between 2,000 and 10,000 people. There are no markers here. There are no indications of individual burials because the dead were merely buried in 3 huge pits in cheap coffins, lined one after another, tier upon tier. And by the end of the famine in 1854, this place was crammed with the dead. It's an incredibly moving place, and people who've been to Auschwitz and Dachau and places like that they have told me that they find a similar atmosphere here, a bleakness, a sense of terrible depression, of lives taken unnecessarily, and of just mass extinction in truly desperate circumstances.
Lonely inside I roam, far from my island home, where the wild waves surge and foam had lands appearing, clouded in silver spray, flashing through